Hernan Cortes was a Spanish explorer of the Americas with a fascinating story. Hernan started off as a simple noble boy and worked through hardships that pushed him on. Hernan lived a successful and comfortable lifestyle, having made a large fortune from his travel. He had many prominent leadership roles across many countries in the Americas and overthrew empires known worldwide for their functionality. Cortes sailed all around the Americas, sailing to Hispaniola, Cuba, and Mexico, lands that the Spanish kingdom was interested in overthrowing and claiming for their own. Hernan arrived first in Hispaniola and made further ventures at other times and locations to places in the Americas, such as Cuba and Mexico. Hernan ceased his travels in his later years, his last travel presumably being from California to Spain, having just discovered California. He lived a fairly modest lifestyle in the early days of his travel in Hispaniola, owning and working on land, before being recognized for his leadership abilities with promise of land and fortune as a result of the praise of the governor that was ruling at the time. Before we continue, some background story. Hernan was born into a prestigious family and forced into a life of academia, not pushed to follow his dreams. He began his education in law at the age of 14, sent to a remote university to study and bring glory to his family's somewhat deflated reputation. Hernan was born into a sickly childhood, having had many health issues in the past, which led to his failure of course in law, much to the irritation of his mother and father. Hernan first heard of the riches involved with exploration as news of Christopher Columbus streamed back to Spain. Cortes joined an exploration in Cuba, exploring amongst 300 men. Hernan lived in Cuba from 1511 to 1518, accompanied by some officials from Hispaniola. The goal of the expedition was to conquer Cuba, claiming the land for his kingdom. The leader of the expedition made Cortes his secretary, impressed by his vast knowledge and skills that he displayed in his last position as clerk to the treasurer of the expedition. He eventually, after having gained more leadership and freedom in his responsibilities, gathered a crew of 600 men in 1518 to go on another expedition inside Cuba. As mayor of the capital of Santiago, the man felt satisfied. Cortes' time in Mexico consisted of basically one event, played over a long period of time, the overthrowing of the Aztec Empire. Hernan finally makes it to Mexico, full of ambition and armed with an army of about 500 men, as well as multiple horses and cannons. In March of 1519, Hernan started claiming land leading up to Mexico, preparing for the conquest to come. Cortes asked to speak with the leader of the Aztecs, but was turned down multiple times. Still determined and not deterred by his lack of success in contacting with the prominent leader, Cortes marched onto the capital of the Aztec Empire, growing his army along the way. Now armed with approximately 1,500 men, Cortes marched on. He arrived in Cocolo, massacring thousands and partially burning the city. Upon arriving in Tenchilin, the Spaniards had expanded their already large army and were welcomed into the country peacefully by Moctezuma, the leader at the time. He gifted the Spaniards with lavish gifts of gold and fortune. This only excited the Spaniards, still intent on conquering the empire. 1521, Cortes finally conquered the empire. He was finally content and decided to return to Spain.